Let's go ahead and arrive. Um, Before I invite our chime to sing so we can really initiate this practice, I want to let everyone know a couple of things about our Wednesday practice. Starting a number of years ago, one of our facilitators who was facilitating Wednesday meetings decided to read from the teachings of various Zen masters. And so we have studied Zen masters always on a Wednesday. For the last several weeks, we have been studying the work of Shantideva. And Shantideva was an 8th century monk who was in a university in India, and he was studying about Buddhism 24/7. That was his whole life. And he was practicing with masters. He was listening to debates. He was experiencing and testing the principles of Buddhism for himself. And then, as the legend goes, Shantideva was a bit of a rebel student. He didn't go to class. He kind of was often on the fringe doing his own thing. So some of the more goody two-shoes monks and students wanted to trick him and test him and see what he was really learning and what he was really doing. So they were like, dude, we're going to invite you to do this talk. And they had an intention, unfortunately, a bit of a sour intention to humiliate him. And much to everyone's surprise, Shantideva presented this extraordinary teaching that he created truly for himself. He really took to heart and mind the number one principle of the Buddha, which is don't take my word for it. Don't take this wisdom as the rule of law here. Take this wisdom and test it for yourself. Bring it into your own life. Breathe it for yourself. Make sure it's true for you. Don't just follow me. I'm not interested in that. So Shantideva did that, and he created this talk. And it's called The Way of the Bodhisattva. A bodhisattva is a person who is completely committed to alleviating suffering in themselves, other people, the world. And the thing that I find really remarkable about this is Shantideva was a person just like you and me, but the way that he took these teachings so deeply into his own heart and mind, we're still talking about it 1,200 years later. It's still relevant to each of our lives. And I think that's really amazing. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the second chapter of this book, The Way of the Bodhisattva. And this chapter is called Purifying Negativity. But I want to give a heads up about what that means. Because in the West, we have a habit energy, we have a conditioned way of looking at negativity as because I've done something bad, I'm bad. Because I have sinned, I'm a terrible person. Shantideva has a very different perspective on this. And so that's what I'd like to share with you today, along with my own perspective about how his words are alive in me. Okay? But don't take my word for it. I want you and I encourage you to just see how these words come alive in you. Now, for anybody who is tired today, for anybody who feels like they need a little bit of rest, please lie down today. Please get comfortable. If you'd like to take a more active posture in your meditation, that's great. The journey of recovery is difficult. The body needs a lot of rest. So take this time to relax, to be here, and enjoy your practice. Welcome, everyone. Oh, let's take a couple of deep breaths. You can even close your eyes as you're settling in. And again, don't feel shy. If you want to lie down, please do. If you're online and you'd rather move around, I am totally supportive of that. I just would gently encourage you to turn your camera off so we don't see your camera bouncing around. You might fall asleep. I've been known to do that. All right, settling in. Purifying negativity. This is an invitation to take a look at our misdeeds, our unskillfulness. And rather than feel guilty or ashamed, rather than seeking forgiveness, rather than using those misdeeds, that misconduct, as fodder for self-loathing, ways to label ourselves as bad and terrible, we're going to take a totally different perspective on this from Shantideva, because what he wants us to consider, based on what this chapter is saying, at least to me, is while it might be true that we all have the capacity to do harmful, unskillful things, the motivation behind that isn't because we're inherently bad. The motivation is because we are asleep. We are unconscious to the preciousness of life and our lives. We don't see beauty. We don't have curiosity. We're no longer awed by the simple and yet profound. Today's altar, for instance, is a very simple collection of curly willow that a friend dropped off for me. And I love this tree. I love this tree because it grows in all kinds of curvy-wurvy ways. It's squiggly and wiggly. It's completely non-linear and asymmetrical. And it really tickles my mind that likes things neat and tidy, square corners, 90 degrees, nice and straight and linear. And this tree's like, yeah, no. I'm going to be wild and wiggly. I love that. It's such a beautiful small wonder to notice. And so in chapter 2, to purify negativity, Shantideva is simply asking us in the first 9 verses to notice. Notice small wonders. Notice beauty. Notice the warmth of someone through their eyes. Notice the weariness of someone in their hands or in the way they stand. Notice the smell of incense or of flowers. Right now, spring is really alive in Spokane. Have you taken time to smell the air and the earth truly thawing so that the tulips are starting to rise from their winter slumber, as are the daffodils and hyacinths, the crocus. The crocus are like little baby mouths sticking out their tongues. At least that's how they seem to me. They're so fun and sassy and bright and colorful. Do you see? Are you awake? And in the next chapters, in the next verses, that is, Shantideva is saying, when you notice these, offer them up as a way of humility, as a way of saying, you know, all this time I was engaged with life unconsciously, so no wonder I behaved in ways that were harmful to myself and others. I wasn't awake. I was sound asleep to the preciousness of my life. There are many reasons why we do this. Trauma and pain. But rather than focus on that, he's saying you can wake up in any moment and see beauty. And that's enough. Noticing that and offering that up, offering that out, allowing it to enter your mind and heart. That is a way that you can purify negativity in your heart and in your mind. And then in the chapters 10 and 14, he talks about how he bathes these statues of various Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Avalokiteshvara, Manjushri, and he bathes them and anoints them as a ritualistic way of acting with reverence. There's an innocence in that. There's a sacredness to that. And so that act that he is featuring invites us to act in similar reverent ways. So for me, what's alive with me when I think about those verses is I think about washing a baby, bathing my babies, and feeling so overwhelmed to protect their innocence and to make sure the soap doesn't get in their eyes and to make sure the water temperature is just right and to just play in the bubbles with them. And then I remember that, I was a baby. And I was very fortunate that I had a mother who nurtured my innocence and took care of me and protected me. But not everybody was safeguarded that way. And so we're invited to learn how to reverently care for ourselves. Imagine ourselves maybe even as an innocent baby or an innocent toddler, and to become the mother or father we never had to ourselves. We can care for ourselves with great gentleness, enormous compassion and presence, if we're conscious enough to see. And that act is available to us moment to moment to moment. And that is enough to purify any negativity that you might be harboring toward yourself and by extension toward others. In the next verses, 15 through 20, Shantideva is talking about offerings. Now that we're awake a little bit, now that we're reminded, it's so simple. All I need to do is start paying attention to the littlest things. The buds on the trees. Stop and notice. Take a moment to realize how often we go through the day without even being aware. Our minds are wandering along, our bodies are moving along, the two are completely disconnected. That is going unconscious. And Shantideva is going, notice the buds on the trees, notice the flowers in the air, the scents in the air, notice the smiles, notice. Wake up, come alive, see. That simple act is enough to purify. He writes, to the able ones, the supreme objects of offering, I offer all the beautiful scented flowers, mandaras, upalas, lotuses, and so forth, and exquisite garlands finely arranged. I offer them vast and fragrant clouds of supreme incense that steal the mind. And I offer delicacies of the gods together with a variety of food and drink. I also offer jeweled lamps arranged on golden lotuses and on polished ground sprinkled with scent and scattered with beautiful flower petals. I offer to those with the nature of compassion a celestial palace resounding with heavenly praise and hung with beautiful pearls and jeweled ornaments, whose infinite radiance illuminates space. Externally, I will offer to the abled ones exquisite jeweled parasols held aloft with pleasing shapes, handles of gold, and rims embellished with beautiful ornaments. In addition to these, may masses of offerings resounding with music and beautiful melodies remain like so many clouds that send down relief to suffering living beings. Friends, all he's saying in these verses is he's looking around him and he sees flowers and garlands of flowers. He sees jeweled lamps, meaning candles that are held in beautiful, likely clay decorative holders. He's talking about the polished ground, a ground so well swept that it shines, and it's sprinkled with flowers. When was the last time you picked flowers, pulled the petals, and tossed them in the air as an offering of joy? He's looking up at the stars and the sky and just marveling at the brightness of it. And he's talking about even more blessings, more offerings, like a symphony of music that hovers in the air like the clouds, raining relief. Music that brings comfort. It could be music like the sound of somebody's laughter, or a really good conversation with someone. It could be music like the sound of my coffee beans in the grinder as I'm getting ready to make coffee. God, I love that sound. It could be the ding of a microwave heating up my lunch and I'm starving and I can't wait to hear that sound. The whole point, friends, the specifics aren't relevant. These specifics represent a person that lived 1,200 years ago. So the details don't matter. Don't get lost in the details. Your life. What do you notice in your precious human life? Notice it. Acknowledge. And may the beauty and radiance and wonder and presence and brightness and brilliance, may it land in your heart and mind as a source of healing. And may that healing become a guide and a way to live your life, so that you're no longer tethered to habits and energies that create harm, negativity, confusion, distress. May your efforts, may you know that your efforts to heal yourself heal everyone. And I'll end this practice today with this bit of awareness. Notice how many people are here today. And you didn't come here by any force from me. You came here from your own wise actions, your own good hearts and minds. Your circumstances may be challenging, but there's something going on in your own wisdom that enabled you to be here today, all of us. And so together as a collective soul, we are generating powerful, powerful merit, goodness for our own sakes, for the sake of one another here, and the ripples keep going out. All because we took the time to notice, reflect, and breathe. Let's end our practice today with a dedication of merit. You know, one of the things whenever we bring forward Shantideva, his word means peace. Shanti is peace. And so Shantideva is, if we were to put him into a statue, he is sort of the symbol of peace. And one of the ways to imagine it as you hear other people talking about Shantideva's work is to imagine a light, a bright light. And that's sort of the light and the illumination of peace. And imagine it entering at the level of your own heart. And imagine that radiance being really warm and encouraging. And imagine that warmth and that brightness radiating out from you as you go into your day, as you interact with people standing in the grocery store, driving in traffic. Maybe you're waiting on hold, talking to a doctor's office, whatever it is. And you're reminded that you have a choice to be warm and bright. And then you can think of Shantideva's words as we end and dedicate our practice. He said, "For as long as suffering exists in the world, and for as long as living beings are in the world, may I too remain to help dispel the misery of the world." Thank you so much, friends, for your beautiful practice. I bow deeply to each and every one of you, Buddhas to be. Namaste.